So good afternoon, everyone. So let's start the lecture. For this week, our topic is all about Vibrio, Aeromonas, Campylobacters, and what you call the other gastroenteritis-causing pathogens. Okay, so for the first part, we have the Vibrio. Now, the Vibrio class, this is a group of microorganisms that is commonly found in aquatic environment. So pwede sila sa salt water, brackish water, estuarine, and even sometimes in fresh water. Now, ano pang characteristic ng Vibrio? Pagdating class sa mga sakit, it commonly causes gastroenteritis, okay? Or sometimes pwede rin ang sepsis or wound infection. How can you get the Vibrio? You can get this either from swimming or drinking contaminated food and water, eating yung mga raw seafood tulad ng mga oyster, clam, and shellfish, or even or even let's say nag-swim ka sa dagat tapos meron akong open wound na na-infect. Those are the possible ways on how you can get the Vibrio. Now, whenever we talk about Vibrio, we also have to talk about Aeromonas and Plesiomonas because they are all found in the same environment. Basta tubig, may kita mo doon either Vibrio, Aeromonas, or Plesiomonas. So one way to distinguish them, one way to distinguish the Vibrio from the Aeromonas and Plesiomonas is to perform the O129 susceptibility testing and also the string test. Okay? So later, di-discuss ko yung mga tests on how to distinguish them. So these are the different examples of significant Vibrio. Pagdating sa Vibrio, ang common natin is Vibrio cholerae, Vibrio parahemolyticus, and Vibrio vulnificus. Those are the commonly encountered in the hospital setting. As you can see, nakikita sila sa brackish or salt water. Yung iba naman, pwede rin siya sa fresh water. Okay? Now, another one is this one, the Vibrio. So, sabi ko nga kayo na class, kailangan natin ihiwalay si Vibrio from Aeromonas and Plesiomonas. At anong test yung ginagawa natin? We may use what we call the Vibrio static test, also known as the O129 susceptibility testing, this one. Okay? So, this is the Vibrio. Nilagyan natin siya ng compound na 2,4-diamino 6,7-diisopropylpteridine. Okay? Ito yung, or what we call the Vibriostatic disc. Kapag meron siyang zone of inhibition, ibig sabihin nun, susceptible. And as we all know, class, Vibrio is susceptible to O129 or vibriostatic compound. Okay? So kapag susceptible, it can either be Vibrio or Leishmaniasis. Kapag resistant, like this one, resistant yan, it can be Aeromonas. Okay? So, since dalawa yan na possible na answer, ano pa yung isa nating test na pwedeng gawin? To separate Vibrio. We may culture in TCBS agar. So this is the TCBS agar. Tandaan nyo, class, ang tumutubo sa TCBS agar is Vibrio. Aeromonas and Plesiomonas will not grow in TCBS agar. So this is what the TCBS agar looks like. Okay? Kapag meron siyang yellow colonies, ibig sabihin no, nagkaroon ng sucrose fermentation, it can be Vibrio cholerae. Kapag naman greenish colonies, ibig sabihin walang sucrose fermentation, it can be Vibrio parahemolyticus or Vibrio vulnificus. Tulad nito, nagiging yellow siya, kaya this is Vibrio cholerae. Okay? So, but take note class na ang growth kasi sa TCBS, although selective siya for Vibrio, however, minsan, there are some enteric bacteria that can also grow here. Ano yung enteric bacteria na yun? Pwede class ang E. coli, ang natumubo sa TCBS. Okay? E. coli also appear yellow sa TCBS. Now, that's why, whenever we perform culture, we have to make sure na yung yellow colonies na yan is really Vibrio. And how do we do that? We get a sample from the colony and then we perform what they call the string test, this one. Ang string test naman class, meron ka ditong slide, papatakan mo siya ng 0.5% sodium desoxycholate and then observe for stringing reaction like this one. As you can see class, meron siyang string being formed. Okay, bakit nagkaroon ng string? Because of the lysis of DNA. Naglalys ang DNA ng bacteria kapag pinatakan mo ng 0.5% sodium desoxycholate. Kaya nga naman, pag inangat mo yan, meron siyang parang string. Yung string na yan, that is the DNA of the Vibrio. So kapag string test positive, Vibrio static test is susceptible, TCBS positive, ang sagot is Vibrio species. Pagdating naman klase sa morphology, meron siyang characteristic the curve, gram-negative bacilli that looks like a comma-shaped gram-negative bacilli. And the Vibrio is highly motile. Meron siyang characteristic, rapid darting shooting star motility. So, napakabilis niya. Kaya nga, once pumasok niya sa katawan mo, magkakaroon ka talaga ng sakit agad-agad because the bacteria is highly motile. Madali siyang kumalat sa katawan. Okay? Most species are halophilic. However, class, Vibrio cholerae, pwede siyang tumubo sa fresh water. Kaya nga, class, ang cholera, pwede siyang kumalat sa mga community, di ba? So, for example, merong isang community. Malayo naman siya sa dagat, pero nagkakaroon ng cholera. Kasi nga, yung bacteria, it can grow sa water na walang salt. Kahit walang salt yung tubig, tulad ng fresh water natin, o yung ininom natin tubig sa gripo, kayang tumubo ni cholera dyan. Okay? Now, next is okay, so let's talk about Vibrio cholerae muna. Again, tatlong ating significant pathogen. The Vibrio cholerae, Vibrio parahemolyticus, and Vibrio vulnificus. Now, as we all know, class, cholerae, it can cause cholera. At kapag nagkaroon ng cholera, class, isang community, makakahawaan na yan, class. Bakit? How can you get the infection? You can get this from eating or drinking contaminated food and water. For example, sa isang komunidad, merong isang tao na nagkaroon ng cholera. Ang cholera kasi, class, once nagkaroon ka niyan, yung intestine mo, masisira siya. Magkakaroon ka ng tissue damage because of the cholera toxin or choleragen. Ang choleragen na yan, ginagawa niya, it is a cytotoxin that destroy the lining or the mucosa of your gastrointestinal tract that can lead to hypersecretion. Ibig sabihin niya, class, lahat ng iniinom mo, lahat ng kinakain mo, hindi kaya ma-absorb ng intestine mo, kaya nilalabas mo siya agad. Kaya nagkakaroon ka ng characteristic na rice water stool. Kapag rice water stool, ibig sabihin, class, yung stool mo, mukha siyang pinaghugasan ng bigas. Kaya tinawag na rice water stool. Okay? And then that bacteria, yung cholerae, it has toxin core-regulated pili or TCP. That makes it attached to the mucosa of your intestine. That's why nakakapaglabas siya ng cholera toxin na tuloy-tuloy ang labas ng kanyang cholera toxin. Now, the enterotoxin, ZOT naman, this is known to disrupt yung mga tight junction of your cells sa intestine. Okay? That's why nakakapasok talaga si bacteria doon sa loob. Kasi nga, pati class yung mismong structure ng tissue sa intestine mo, sinisira ng mga toxins na yan. That can lead to decreasing tissue resistance, that can lead to hypersecretion and malabsorption. So, hindi siya nakakapag-absorb ng fluid, hindi siya nakakapag-absorb ng nutrients, lahat nilalabas mo. And then, yung toxin niya class, this is very potent. Kaya nga, dire-diretso ang pagtatai mo dyan. Magtatai ka talaga ng dire-diretso dyan at maraming beses. Now, kapag meron kang cholera at nagtatai ka nga, di ba? And then let's say, yung kamay mo contaminated ng cholera because of washing yourself after defecating, right? And then ikaw, nag-prepare ka ng food, nagluto ka ng food, right? So, possible class na maipasa mo yung cholera from those people na kakain ng food. Okay? Or, possible din class na sa lugar nyo, wala kayong proper plumbing. Let's say, yung tawag dito, yung water system nyo na iniinom ay nakukontamina, ay nagkakaroon ng contamination ng water na nagaling sa toilet, di ba? Pag wala kayong proper plumbing, pwede makontaminate yung iniinom na tubig, kaya nagkakaroon ng cholera sa isang community. Okay? That's why cholera, they are known to cause epidemic and pandemic. Okay? Now, again, the reason why it causes epidemic kasi nga because of the cholera toxin. Okay? That induces hypersecretion. Kaya mabilis kumalat ang sakit. Now, once you're able to detect the cholera sa clinical sample mo, anong next mong gagawin? The next test is to perform serotyping because you have to identify if the Vibrio cholerae is of the serogroup O1 or O139. Because itong mga merong O1 na yan, O1, O139, they are the ones that can cause epidemic. Kasi ito class yung serogroup na gumagawa ng cholera toxin or choleragen. Okay? Yung mga non-O1, non-O139, hindi sila gumagawa ng choleragen. Kaya nga class, hindi sila nakakalat ng epidemya. Ang gumagawa ng choleragen is the O1 and O139. Okay? So, Ang mga cases ng epidemya caused by the cholera, karamihan dyan nangyari sa Japan. Bakit class? Kasi nga, yung mga Japanese, mahilig silang kumain ng mga raw seafood tulad ng mga sushi, di ba? And nakukuha rin ito sa pagkain ng mga raw seafood. Okay? So that's why, pinangalan ang mga historical na epidemya after places from Japan, tulad ng Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. And this infection is common during summer season. Okay? Kasi nga mainit, madali mag-multiply ang mga bacteria. Now, pagdating naman sa biotype, meron kang dalawa. You have the classic and the Eltor. Among the two biotype, the one that is more potent is the Eltor biotype. Kasi nga, it has hemolysin. Okay? It has hemolysin. They can actually destroy red cells. Okay? It also has polymyxin B. It can also agglutinate chicken red blood cells. Okay? That's why ang more virulent among the two is the Eltor because of the hemolysin it produces. So these are the different diseases. Again, these are the virulence factor. Meron siyang cholera toxin, zootoxin, toxin, another enterotoxin ng Vibrio cholerae. O1 and O13 somatic antigens, hemolysin, cytotoxin, motility, chemotaxis, mucinase, and the TCP pili. These are the major virulence factor ng Vibrio cholerae. Again, patient can die. Bakit? Kasi nga, mabilis ang paglabas ng kanyang stool. So, nagiging dehydrated siya. That can lead to hypotension, shock, and death. So, kapag may cholera ang tao, paano ang management? Of course, kailangan niya ng IV fluids. 'Di ba? Kasi kahit anong inom mo ng tubig dyan, ilalabas mo rin yung class. So, kailangan naka-IV fluid ka and you must be given the antibiotics. Okay? Now, for the Vibrio parahemolyticus naman, I think wala ata dito. Anyway, for the Vibrio vulnificus naman class, this is known to cause wound infection, sepsis, and gastroenteritis as well. So, later di-discuss ko yan. Okay? Yan. For the Vibrio parahemolyticus, again, it is known to cause gastroenteritis and wound infection. Okay? Ang mga common lang natin na makikita is of course the cholera, parahemolyticus, vulnificus, and alginolyticus. The rest are uncommon. Uncommon and rare. Diba? Kasi nga, ito, yung mga yan, sa dagat mo yan makikita. 'Di ba? Magkakaroon ka lang yan kapag talagang nasugat ka or na-expose ka. Pero kapag hindi naman, hindi ka magkakaroon ng sakit. Kaya nga, rare sila or uncommon. So, ito lang yung common. Okay? The cholera, parahemolyticus, pulmonicus, and agenolyticus. So, let's talk about lab diagnosis. Ngayon, since cholera ang pinag-uusapan class, importante kasi ito is we have to contain the spread of the epidemic. Okay? Kapag may mga epidemya, pandemya, ang gusto natin, mabilis ang resulta. Diba? That's why, most of the time, kapag mayroong pandemya or epidemic, we rely on direct detection method. So, meron tayong mga rapid test. Kapag antigen test, ibig sabihin, no, you're testing for the bacterial antigen. So, ang tinetest mo talaga yung cell wall ng bacteria na Vibrio cholerae. And you can do that by performing the rapid antigen test, known as the SMART2 cholera and the Bengal SMART 0139, and immunochromatographic assays. Okay? These are examples of antigen test. Kapag naman ELISA, you are detecting the Vibrio cholerae toxin. So you're detecting for the cholera gen. So this can be detected in stool using the ELISA or commercially available latex agglutination system. Okay? So ELISA is for cholera gen or toxin detection na Vibrio cholerae. Sa mga sa partial testing naman, again, pagdating sa motility, may siyang characteristic, rapid darting or shooting star motility. Okay? Take note that whenever you collect stool sample, tandaan nyo ang Vibrio, madali siyang mamatay. Kaya kailangan mo siyang ilagay sa Carry-Blair transport medium regardless kung malapit lang yung laboratory or hindi naman siya lalagpas ng 1 hour, kailangan ilagay pa rin siya sa Carry-Blair transport medium. And then you collect the specimen with what you call mucus flex. Kapag mucus flex class, ito yung parang sipon-sipon sa stool. Yan ang kinukuha mong part para ma-recover yung Vibrio cholerae. Okay? Pero paano mo ba kasi ma-recover yung Vibrio cholerae? So again ang specimen of choice mo is yung stool na mayroong mga mucus flex. Kukunin mo yung sipon-sipon sa stool. Yung sipon-sipon na yan sa stool, saan mo siya ilalagay? Ilagay mo muna siya sa alkaline peptone water. Bakit class? Kasi class, sabi ko nga kanina, kung dediretso ka sa TCBS, pwedeng tumubo dito yung mga E. coli. 'Di ba? Kasi nga, ang laman ng TCBS, sucrose, 'di ba? Eh, ang E. coli, gusto niya rin ng sucrose. So, pwedeng tumubo dito ang E. coli. Tandaan nyo, class, na ang specimen mo is stool. Sa stool, anong meron doon? Di ba, class, sa stool natin, meron tayong E. coli, di ba? So, possible na, na ang ma-isolate mo lang is E. coli lang. Okay? So, para maiwasan natin yon, kailangan mo munang patayin si E. coli from the stool. Paano mo gagawin yon? Yung stool sample niya, ilalagay mo muna sa alkaline peptone water. Okay? Alkaline peptone water broth or taurocholate peptone broth. Para saan ba yan? Ang pH ng mga broth na yan is about 8.5 to 9. Okay? Ang ganyang kataas na alkaline pH, that will be toxic for E. coli. So kapag binabad mo muna dyan yung stool for about 6 to 8 hours of incubation, yung mga E. coli mo mamamatay. Mamamatay siya, class. Kung meron ngang cholera yan, ang mabubuhay na lang dyan is the cholera. Okay? So after 6 hours of incubation, tinatanggal natin sila sa incubator and then we subculture that saan? Sa TCBS. And then we incubate the TCBS overnight. Tapos kinabukasan, titignan natin yung reaction. So kapag naging yellow nga, it can really be Vibrio cholerae kasi nga nag-enrich ka na eh. Pinatay mo na yung E. coli. So possible nga na ito talaga ay cholera. Okay? So anong next mong gagawin? Next mong gagawin is, sabi ko nga kanina, vibriostatic test muna. Dapat susceptible sa vibriostatic test. And then perform the string test. Dapat string test positive. Okay? Now, so that is for the culture and biochemical test. Okay? Asa na ba ako? Okay. So that is for the culture. So once may tumubo ng colony, we assume na yan nga talaga ay vibrio na, di ba? So, how do we confirm na kung ito nga talaga ay cholerae or other species? We can perform API-20E system. Ang API-20E system, that is an semi-automated system. Among the semi-automated system na pag-identify ng bacteria, it is the best to be used. Bakit, class? Kasi you prepare the bacteria in 0.85% saline, which is the suitable environment for the vibrio to grow. Kaya nga, class, ang mga Vibrio pare hemolyticus, vulnificus, tutubo siya sa sa API 20E. That's why this is the best to use pagdating sa semi-automated system. Pwede rin naman ang Malditoff MS, di ba? Malditoff MS. Pwede rin siya to differentiate the different species of Vibrio. Pwede rin ang Vitek MS. So all of these methods are, for this one, sa APE, this is semi-automated. Ito naman na Multitop MS and Vitek MS, this is fully automated system din. Okay? So those are the tests. So let's say according nga sa API 20E mo, ang bacteria mo nga talaga is cholera. Anong next mong gagawin? You have to perform serotyping. Bakit ka mag-serotype? Kasi class, you want to identify kung ang meron ka ba is the O1 and O139 that can cause epidemic. Kasi nga, kung yan yung nakuha mo, you have to report that sa health department nyo, sa City Health Office. Because the DOH or the City Health Office is going to try to contain the spread of epidemic. Kasi class, delikado. Pag hindi mo na-report yan, pwedeng magkalat yung pasyente, pwedeng magkaroon ng epidemya. So, kailangan alam nyo ng public health officials para makontain nila yung spread ng epidemya. Okay? That's why serotyping is being done. So, pagdating naman class sa Vibrio para hemolyticus, actually class, itong Vibrio na to, um, it is very predominant sa dagat. Kapag ikaw ay nag-swimming sa dagat at nakainom ka ng tubig dagat, nakainom ka na rin ng Vibrio para hemolyticus. Ganun siya class ka-common. O kung kumakain ka ng mga seafoods na raw, kumakain ka ng sushi, di ba? Nakakain ka ng para hemolyticus. Sino sa inyo nakakain na ng sea urchin? Di ba yung sea urchin class, hindi naman siya niluluto, di ba? Ano lang yon, sinasawsaw lang yun sa suka, di ba? Yung iba nga, hinuhugasan ng sa dagat, di ba? Tapos kakainin na. O. Kung kumain ka na doon, nakakain ka na ng Vibrio para hemolyticus. Okay? Pero class, hindi ka nakakasakit. Ba't di ka nakasakit? Kasi nga, hindi mo natsambahan yung kanyang pathogenic strain, which is the O3K6, also known as the Kanagawa toxin positive strain. Okay? The Kanagawa toxin positive strain. Hindi mo ito naswertihan. Right? So, ano ba mangyayari sa'yo? Most of the time, class, magkakaroon ka lang ng diarrhea na self-limiting. So, masakit yung tiyan mo, watery diarrhea, cramps, and vomiting if ever. However, class, sometimes nagkakaroon ng outbreak or foodborne outbreak because of the O3K6. Doon ka magkakasakit talaga. Okay? And how do you know na ang nakuha mo is the O3K6? Well, you have to perform the culture in Wagatsuma agar. So, ang Wagatsuma agar class, this is a selective medium for the O3K6. Titingnan mo class kung magkakaroon siya class ng hemolysis. Kapag nagkaroon ng hemolysis doon sa Wagatsuma agar, ibig sabihin nun, you're able to detect the O3K6, also known as Kanagawa toxin positive. So, ang sagot dyan is, meron kang Vibrio parahemolyticus. Okay? Now, next is the Vibrio bonificus. So, ang Vibrio bonificus sa mga class, ito yung pinakadelikado sa lahat ng Vibrio. Bakit class? Kasi, the mortality rate is above more than 50%. And this is a bacteria that is highly motile. Sabi ko nga kanina, ang mga Vibrio, mayroon silang rapid shooting star motility. 'Di ba? So, mabilis siyang kumalat sa katawan. So, how can you get the Vibrio bonificus infection? So, possible class na ikaw ay kumain ng raw seafood or ikaw ay nag-swimming sa dagat tapos nasugat ka. And malalim yung sugat at napasukan ka ng Vibrio bonificus. Lalo na kapag ikaw ay malapit sa mga halamang dagat. Diba? Let's say nag-swimming ka, tapos may mga natapakan kang halamang dagat, may mga sugat ka doon, definitely, makapasukan ka talaga ng Vibrio bonificus. Pwede rin na natusok ka. Natusok ka klas ng fins ng isda. Let's say, naguhugas ka na ng isda, natusok ka ng fins ng isda, possible magkaroon ka ng Vibrio bonificus. Okay? Again, ito yung mga isda na galing dagat. Okay? Kasi wala naman yan sa freshwater kapag bonificus. So, ano mangyayari sa'yo? Magkakaroon ka ng cellulitis that can lead to sepsis, that can lead to multi-organ failure. So, anong ginagawa natin to detect the Vibrio bonificus? Tandaan nyo class, most of the time kapag naka-bonificus ka, you can die within 48 hours. Ganun class kabilis ang bonificus. 2 araw lang deads ka na. Okay? So, paano ang management natin dito sa ospital? Importante ang doctor's interview. Kapag sa interview ng doktor, sinabi ng pasyente, galing ako sa swimming, kasi lagnat na lang ako, ganito na ako. Dapat isipin ng doktor na hala, baka meron itong Vibrio bonificus, di ba? So, nagkasugat ka ba? Or meron ka bang open wound? Kung meron, baka nga. So, anong gagawing test ni doktor? Ang una muna niyang kailangang ipatest is the CK enzyme, the creatinine kinase enzyme. Bakit class? Kasi ang CK enzyme, kapag mataas yan, it means meron kang problema class sa connective tissue. Alam naman natin class na ang blood is connective tissue yan, di ba? So kapag meron kang inflammation sa connective tissue, tumataas ang creatine kinase enzyme. That is one of the marker na meron kang sepsis. Okay? So kapag mataas ang CK enzyme, ibig sabihin meron kang sepsis, possible na ang nag-cause niyan is Vibrio bonificus infection. So anong gagawin ni doktor? Kailangan mag-request siya agad-agad ng blood culture. And then after 6 hours of incubation ng blood culture, kailangan i-check yung gram stain. And then look for gram-negative bacilli that is curve or comma shape. Kasi nga, yan ang typical na shape ng Vibrio. Okay? Curve bacilli. So kapag sa gram stain ng blood, after 6 hours of incubation, nakakita ka ng mga ganun nga, curve gram-negative bacilli, tapos mataas ang CK enzyme, baka nga Vibrio bonificus, and the doctor must be able to treat the patient. Dapat gamutin niya na. Huwag na siya maghintay ng 24 hours kasi nga hindi naaabutin yung pasyente mo. Okay? So, ganun katindi ang Vibrio bonificus. Delikado siya, class. Nakakamatay siya. Yung pinaka-last is the Vibrio alginolyticus, which is the least pathogenic of all the Vibrio. It only requires at least 1% of sodium chloride and can tolerate up to 10% of sodium chloride. For the infection, it only causes wound infection or contamination sa burn wound infections. Okay? Hindi naman siya ganun ka-significant, class. Very rare din siya. So, paano natin ma-distinguish ang cholera? Tandaan nyo class, as you can see, kung makikita nyo itong ating table, halos lahat ng Vibrio, they can grow in 6% sodium chloride. Tumutubo sila sa 6% sodium chloride. However, ang ating Vibrio cholera, siya nag-iisa na kayang tumubo sa 0% salt. together with Vibrio mimicus. Okay? Either cholera yan or mimicus kapag tumutubo sa 0% sodium chloride. Kaya nga class, di ba? Pwede siyang kumalat sa komunidad. Pwede siyang mag-contaminate sa drinking water ng isang community. Kasi nga, pwede siyang tumubo sa water na walang asin. 0% salt, kaya niyang tumubo doon. Yan ang characteristic ni cholera. Kaya nga kumakalat siya sa komunidad. Okay? Besides that, it is also oxidase positive and sucrose positive. That is for the cholera. Okay? As you can see, yung ating parahemolyticus at bonificus, they grow in 6% sodium chloride. Kailangan niya ng salt. Kasi nga, ito yung dalawang taga-dagat. The parahemolyticus and bonificus. Mga taga-dagat yan. Okay? It is also oxidase positive. However, pagdating sa sucrose, negative sila sa sucrose fermentation. Kaya nga class, yung colony nila dito, kapag color green ang colony, it can be parahemolyticus or vulnificus kasi nga hindi siya nag-ferment ng sucrose. Again, it is sucrose, asa na yun? Sucrose negative like this one. Okay? Yan. Okay, those are the other characteristics. Okay. So now let's talk about Aeromonas. So ang Aeromonas class, inaaral siya kasama ni Vibrio kasi nga magkakasama sila ng habitat sa mga tubig pa rin yan class. May kita mo yan sa estuarine water. By the way, ano ba yung estuarine water? Yung estuarine water class or brackish water, ito yung area kung saan nagtatagpo ang tubig alat at tubig tabang. Okay? Kaya tinawag siya estuarine. So, for the Aeromonas naman class, pwede mo makita sa freshwater yan, estuarine, and marine environment. Kapag marine, ibig sabihin dagat. Tubig dagat kapag marine. Kapag estuarine, kung saan nagtatagpo yung tubig alat and tubig tabang. Okay? Freshwater, yan. Pwede siya makuha doon. So, dalawang klaseng species yung Aeromonas. Pwedeng Aeromonas cavea and Aeromonas hydrophilia. Kapag nakakuha mo siya from eating contaminated meat product, tulad ng mga karne, okay? Pwedeng ang nakuha mo is Aeromonas cavea. Pero kapag nakuha mo siya through drinking contaminated water, ang nakuha mo is Aeromonas hydrophilia. Okay? So, anong klase ang kanilang manifestation? Kapag Aeromonas cavea, it is manifested as gastroenteritis. So, anong klaseng pagtatae ang mangyayari sa'yo? Matagal kang magtatae, class. 10 araw ka nagtatae. It can cause chronic diarrhea where pwede kang magtae for 10 days. Okay? And then, yung diarrhea mo is similar to the Shigella. Masakit ang tiyan mo, meron kang cramps with blood and mucus. Meron kang secretory dysenteric type of diarrhea. Okay? That can last for more than 10 days. Ang characteristic niya, katulad din ng Vibrio na rice water stool. Yan ang characteristic ni Aeromonas cavea. Okay? Gastroenteritis that can become chronic. Pagdating naman klasa, hydrophilia, since galing yan sa water, pwedeng gastroenteritis din. However, it commonly causes sepsis or wound infection. Okay? So, pwede siya mag-infect ng wound, causing wound infection. That would be for the Aeromonas hydrophilia. Okay? Now, next is, now for the Aeromonas, anong kanyang culture characteristic? So, if you're going to culture this sa blood agar, it appears to be beta hemolytic like this one. Kapag naman nag-culture ka sa Maconchi agar, it appears to be lactose fermenting like this one. Yan ang characteristic ng mga Aeromonas. Now, for the Aeromonas naman, it can grow sa different culture medium. Tulad nga sabi ko kayo na blood agar and the Maconchi agar. Pwede rin naman sa sin, kaso nga lang, commonly indistinguishable siya sa colony ng Yersinia. Okay, that's why much better kung i-culture na lang siya sa Maconchi or blood agar. Okay. So how to ID the Aeromonas? So sabi ko nga kanina, dito muna tayo sa bibliostatic test. Okay? Kailangan resistant si O129. Kapag resistant kay O129, Aeromonas na ang sagot class. So kapag nag-culture ka sa blood agar, tignan mo, dapat ito ay beta hemolytic colonies. And also perform oxidase test and spot indole test. It should be positive. Okay? Yan, oxidase positive. Okay? And indole positive as well. Okay? Now, ano ang pinaka-best to identify the different species? The best test is to perform nucleic acid amplification testing or the NAATS. This is the reference method. Okay? Pwede rin naman ang MALDI of MS, kaso nga lang class, hindi niya kaya ma-differentiate yung mga species ng hydrophilia. Pwede siya kay Aeromonas cabe, but for the hydrophilia, hindi niya kayang ma-distinguish pa. Okay? So, meron siyang limitation. That's why, ang pinaka-best pa rin is the nucleic acid amplification testing or the NAATS. Okay? So, pwede ka rin mag-perform ng mga different types of biochemical tests tulad ng ornithine, lysin carboxylase, arginine dehydrolase, and fermentation of inositol. So, ano yung difference ni hydrophilia sa Kebye? Take note of the VP testing. Aeromonas hydrophilia is VP positive. Aeromonas cabe is VP negative. Yan ang kanilang main difference. The Vos-Puskauer test. Besides that is the cellobiose test. Hydrophilia is cellobiose negative. Cabe is cellobiose positive. Okay? Yun lang ang tatandaan dyan. Another one is the Chromobacterium violaceum. Although class, itong bacteria na to, hindi talaga siya, hindi siya nagbibigay sa atin ng gastroenteritis, di ba? Pero, it can be isolated together with the Aeromonas and the Vibrio because you can also find this sa water. Okay? But, ang common infection nito is wound infection that can lead to systemic infection that can lead to abscess and septic shock. So, magmula sa sugat, nagiging cellulitis, nagiging systemic infection, nagkakaroon abscess, hanggang mamatay yung pasyente because of the septic shock. The reason for that is the endotoxins. Gumagawa siyang maraming endotoxin. So, anong kanyang distinguishing characteristic? As you can see, class, the color of the colony is violet. Kasi nga gumagawa siya ng pigment na violacin. Kaya tinawag din siya na violaceum because of the violacin pigment. Besides that, meron siyang odor na ammonium cyanide or almond-like odor. Now, for the treatment, paano ba gamutin ng mga Vibrio? Kapag cholera class, so we give the patient aminoglycoside, fluoroquinolone azithromycin. Okay? For the other Vibrio, tulad ng Vulnificus, di ba? We can give the same antibiotic that is given sa cholera. Ito rin, fluoroquinolone din, aminoglycosides. Okay? Even carbapenems and monobactams can be given. For Aeromonas naman, same antibiotics din. Okay? Chromobacterium villaseum, more on the cephalosporins, tulad ng cefotaxime, ceftazidime. Okay? Ito yung mga cephalosporins natin. Okay? Next is the Plesiomonas. So, for the Plesiomonas, discuss natin to, di ba, sa Enterobacter shea. So, additional info na lang. So, ang Plesiomonas class can cause chronic diarrhea. Kaso nga lang yung diarrhea mo, pwede siya mag-last up to 2 to 3 months. Ganun katagal ang diarrhea mo kapag meron kang Plesiomonas shigelloides. Okay. So, ano yung test to confirm the Plesiomonas? Take note of the growth in inositol, brilliant green agar. Kapag nakita mo yung colony na white to pink sa inositol, it can be Plesiomonas shigelloides. Okay, ayan. So, next is the Campylobacter. So, saan nakikita klase Campylobacter? But before that pala, discuss ko lang yung significant na species natin. So, for the Campylobacter, ito lang naman yung significant natin dyan. You have the Campylobacter jejuni, subspecies jejuni, Campylobacter jejuni, subspecies doylii. You have the Campylobacter coli and Campylobacter fetus. Yan lang ang ating mga significant na Campylobacter. The rest of the Campylobacter are rarely isolated. Hindi sila ganun ka-significant. Okay? So, saan mo nakukuha sila Campylobacters? Most of them, nakukuha mo sa pigs, poultry. Tandaan nyo, class, lahat ng manok may Campylobacter. Okay? Lalo ni Campylobacter jejuni. That's why, ang Campylobacter jejuni, this is considered as the most common cause of bacterial gastroenteritis worldwide. Kasi nga, kapag kumain ka ng manok na hindi nalinis or manok na hilaw, magkakaroon ka ng Campylobacter jejuni infection. Ano mangyayari sa'yo? Magkakaroon ka ng gastroenteritis. Magtatai ka, class. Okay? Yan ang infection niya. Now, again, na pinaka-significant natin is the Campylobacter jejuni. So, for this one, it causes gastroenteritis. Now, however, class, yung gastroenteritis niya, most of the time, it is self-limiting and doesn't need antibiotic therapy. So, gagaling ka rin naman. Ilabas mo na siya ng ilabas. However, class, ang problema kasi dito is the possibility of complication. Ano magiging complication mo? Ang tawag is Guillain-Barré syndrome. Kapag Guillain-Barré syndrome class, ibig sabihin noon, gumagawa ka ng mga autoantibody that can destroy your myelin sheath. So, since na-expose ka nga kay Campylobacter jejuni, yung katawan mo, gagawa ka ng antibody against kay Campylobacter jejuni. Tapos yung antibody niyon, sisirain niya yung sarili mong katawan. Anong part ng katawan mo? Yung myelin sheath. That is important. Okay, important sa yung spinal cord. Kapag nasira yan, what will happen to you? Magkakaroon ka ng paralysis. Mapaparalyze ka, class. Ang tawag dun ay Guillain-Barré syndrome. Okay? So, erythromycin is the drug of choice for the Campylobacter infection kapag meron kang severe gastroenteritis. However, class, kapag nagkaroon ka ng Guillain-Barré syndrome, irreversible yan na. Paralyzed ka na talaga, class, kasi hindi na re-repair ang myelin sheath mo. It is irreversible paralysis ang Guillain-Barré syndrome. Okay? Next is the shape of the bacteria. For the shape, it is gram-negative. However, class, take a look at the cellular arrangement or the shape of the bacteria. For the shape, it looks like a seagull wing. So mukha daw siyang seagull wing like this one. Okay, seagull wing appearance. Okay? Yan. So paano ang lab diagnosis, class? Actually, class, ang culture kasi dito, mahirap siyang ma-culture. Bakit kaya, class? Kasi nga, because of the environment, you have to provide the microaerophile environment tulad ng 10% CO2, 6% hydrogen, and 84% nitrogen gas. Okay? Meron naman siya mga selective medium, kaso nga lang, the recovery process is very difficult. Also, the incubation, di ba? As you can see, class, kapag blood yung specimen mo, matagal bago ka mag-report ng negative. Mag-incubate ka pa ng 5 days. Kapag negative sa 5 days, mag-extend ka up to 2 weeks, 'di ba? So 2 weeks of incubation. Kapag ganun katagal ang incubation, patay na yung pasyente mo, 'di ba? So nonsense talaga ang culture dito. So that's why in the hospital, when we suspect Campylobacter, we rely more on, ano ba 'yon? More on antigen detection. Ito, antigen test. So we can rely on stool antigen test, okay? Or enzyme immunoassay. Okay? Ito yung mga ginagamit sa ospital na common na ngayon. Kasi nga, hindi tayo makapaghintay na ganun katagal. Sa gram stain pala, pag nakita mo mukhang seagull wing appearance yan, and then meron siyang darting motility, possible na yan ay Campylobacters. Okay? But if you suspect na Campylobacter nga, then pwede naman yung stool na lang ng pasyente, huwag ka na mag-culture. Huwag ka na mag-culture, huwag ka na mag-gram stain. Yung stool mismo ng pasyente, i-test mo for antigens. Or yung blood ng pasyente, i-check mo for antibodies. Okay? Ito yung mga possible na test na ginagawa sa ospital. Pwede naman ang nucleic acid testing. If that is the case, these are the different tests that offers nucleic acid testing for Campylobacters. But if you're working sa mga reference lab, mga research lab, you may perform culture. And these are the different culture media recommended for Campylobacters. So, kailangan mo rin ng blood agar. So, we use the Campi blood agar plate. Bakit, class? Because we want to observe the non-hemolytic pattern ng Campylobacters. Okay? So, dapat walang hemolysis sa Campi blood agar plate. Another common na ginagamit is the CCDA or the charcoal cephaloporazone deoxycholate agar. Pwede rin ang Skiros and Butzler's agar. Those are the culture medium. Okay. Next is the stool culture. So again, stool culture, dalawang culture medium ginagamit natin. We use the Campi blood agar together with the CCDA. Okay? Kasi nga sa blood agar, kailangan natin makita yung non-hemolysis. And the CCDA, this is selective medium for the Campylobacters. Another technique to isolate the Campylobacter is to perform the filtration method. Wherein, ginagawa mo yung stool, gagawa ka ng stool suspension. And then ipapatak mo siya sa filter paper na ang butas is 0.65 micrometer in size. Ang rationality daw dito is, ang mag-pass through lang daw na bacteria are the Campylobacters. Kaya kapag nag-pass through yung bacteria doon, after 1 hour of incubation, you can now perform streaking. Streak mo na siya, kakalat na doon yung bacteria. You can now culture the bacteria. Okay, that is for the culture of Campylobacter. And then make sure that you supply the microaerobic environment. Only 5% of oxygen is allowed. 5% of oxygen, 10% of CO2, and 80% of nitrogen. Okay? Now, for the biochemical test class, if you want to identify Campylobacter jejuni, always remember that it is hepurate hydrolysis positive. As you can see, class, lahat ng Campylobacter mo, negative sa hepurate, except for Campylobacter jejuni. Siya lang nag-iisa na hepurate hydrolysis positive. Okay? How about the other one? The fetus. Then take note that the Campylobacter fetus, it is the one that can grow saan? Sa 25 degrees Celsius. As you can see, class, lahat ng Campylobacter mo doesn't grow at 25, except for the Campylobacter fetus, it can grow at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay? Another characteristic ni Jejuni is that it can grow at 42 degrees Celsius. Again, Jejuni, it can grow at 42, together with Campylobacter coli. It can also grow at 42 degrees Celsius. Okay. So next is the protocol. So whenever you see colony that may look like Campylobacter that grows at 42, you have to suspect Campylobacter. So you may perform heparate hydrolysis testing. Kapag heparate positive, it can be Campylobacter jejuni. Now, if you cannot distinguish it, you may perform MALDI-TOF MS as part of the automated system. So this is the diagnostic algorithm for testing ng Campylobacter. So una muna, you collect the sample. And then you plate it in the following primary plating media. Again, this is for the Campylobacter, Helicobacter, and Archobacter when cultured in blood agar. So sa blood agar muna, anaerobic blood agar and the CampyBA. Yung tatlong blood agar natin for Campylobacters. Kapag nakita mo yung gray to white moist colonies, there's a possibility na meron kang Campylobacters. You have to perform gram stain, look for the curved negative rods. Oxidase test should be positive. If it is positive sa catalase, it can be Campylobacter. Then perform the urease test. If it is urease positive, Helicobacter yan. Kapag urease negative, pwedeng Helicobacter din or Archobacter. But if the catalase is negative, then you have Campylobacters na. So the catalase should be negative for you to say na meron kang Campylobacters. Okay? Now, let's go to Helicobacter pylori. Now, Helicobacter naman class, this is the only bacteria that can cause stomach cancer. Okay? And the only stomach cancer that can be cured by antibiotics. So, ano bang characteristic ni Helicobacter pylori na yan? So, again, pagdating sa kanyang morphology, it is described as curved, helical, or spiral, microaerophilic gram-negative bacilli. Okay? Now, for the Helicobacter pylori, this is now the cause of ulcers, peptic ulcers, duodenal ulcers, and sometimes stomach cancer. Dati kasi class, akala nila ang cause ng ulcer or gastritis is stress. Pero ngayon alam natin na hindi stress, ang nagko-cause talaga is Helicobacter pylori. And where do you get this bacteria? You get this from aquatic environment. Sa tubig pa rin class. Tubig na merong soil. Okay? So kapag yung tubig na contaminated ng soil, ininom mo, possible na mainom mo dun yung Helicobacter pylori. Okay? So, what is the reason why it causes cancer? Bakit siya highly virulent? The reason are the following virulence genes. Meron siyang VAC-A, which is the exotoxin, CAG-A, which is a pathogenicity island, BAB-A, which is an OMP, and the ICEA, which is associated with peptic ulcers. So, paano ang lab diagnosis? Actually, class sa hospital kasi, ang pinaka-practical test dito is just perform the stool antigen testing. So, kailangan mo na ng stool, gagawa ka ng stool suspension, ipapatak mo doon sa test kit. Kapag nag-migrate siya, nag-positive yan, ibig sabihin, meron ka ngang Helicobacter pylori infection. That is kapag ang method is stool antigen. Pero class, if you're going to check for cancer, ang method talaga should be endoscopic biopsy specimen. Okay? We're in class sa endoscopic biopsy specimen, ano ginagawa? Pinapasukan ka ng endoscopy. Ito yung equipment na may camera. And then, hinahanapan ka ng ulcer sa loob ng stomach mo. Kapag may nakitang ulcer sa stomach mo, kukunan ng tissue sample yon. And then, that is now your specimen. Anong gagawin mo kay tissue sample? Always place it immediately sa transport medium kasi nga, madali siyang mamatay. Okay? Kasi nga, ang gusto niya, microaerobic lang. Eh, paglabas niya sa environment, daming oxygen, di ba? Kaya namamatay siya kapag matagal sa environment. So gagawin mo, tapan mo siya agad, secure agad yung specimen. And then process immediately. Okay? Never ever, ever transport it in ice. Huwag mo lalagyan ng yelo. And hindi talaga siya pwedeng madelay. Okay? So, you may use a Stewart transport medium or what you call the Portagerm pylori transport medium. Okay? That is for the tissue biopsy material. Ngayon, kapag na-transfer mo na sa lab, ano yung unang test na ginagawa? Sa tissue biopsy. Okay. Ang pinakaunang test na ginagawa, class, syempre, is perform the microscopic examination. Okay? So sa microscopic examination, ang ginagawa natin na staining technique is the Warten-Starry or silver stain. Sa Warten-Starry stain, what are we going to look for? We look for curved bacilli. Okay? Meron kang curve or spiral bacilli. Yan ang hinahanap for Helicobacter pylori. You can also perform gram stain. Pwede rin naman. It will look like this one. Okay? Okay? Sa mga gram stain, pwede rin. Or even the gems stain. Kasi nga tissue sample yan. Pwede rin yung class. Okay? So, after staining, after taking a look under the microscope, anong next na gagawin? You may perform culture. However, class, matagal kasi ang resulta ng culture. If you're going to culture, you can culture it in Wilkins Sjögren agar, which is the selective medium for Helicobacter pylori. Okay? However, class, much better pa rin talaga kung gagawa ka ng mga rapid test. Okay? Tulad ng rapid urease test. Sa rapid urease test class like this one, ang ilalagay mo dito yung tissue galing do sa endoscopic biopsy. Then after 2 hours, may kita mo, magiging color pink na siya. Kapag nag-pink within 2 hours, it can be Helicobacter pylori. Okay, again rapid urease test, if it is pink within 2 hours, it can be Helicobacter pylori. Now again, it can be, pero hindi siya definitive. Pero ano ba talagang reference method to identify Helicobacter pylori? The reference method is of course to perform the urea breath test. Sa urea breath test class, bibigyan mo yung pasyente mo ng 13C urea. Kakainin niya yun. Okay? Kapag kinain niya, pupunta sa stomach niya, since merong ang Helicobacter pylori yung stomach niya, gagawin ng maraming urease enzyme to break down urea and form gases. At one of those gas is the 13CO2. The 13CO2 will be detected by equipment known as the special spectrometer. So yung pasyente mo, hihinga siya. The patient will breathe, will breathe in the device known as the special spectrometer. Kapag mataas ang 13CO2, probably meron nga siyang Helicobacter pylori infection. Okay? Pero class, sa ospital, common pa rin na ginagawa pa rin yung stool antigen test. So sa stool antigen test class, ang gagawin mo lang is, kuha ka lang ng stool, gawa ka ng stool suspension, ipapatak mo siya sa test kit. Kapag nag-positive yung test kit, ibig sabihin, meron ka ngang Helicobacter pylori infection. Okay? So that is for the detection. Again, ang reference method mo is the urea breath test. Okay? Yung urease test naman na yung class, pwede mo siyang gawin din sa urea agar. However, class, sa urea agar class, ang specimen mo dito is of course yung tissue pa rin galing sa stomach. Again ang stool, gagamitin mo lang yan kapag ang testing na gagawin is stool antigen. Doon ka lang gagamit ng stool for H. pylori. Pero the rest of the testing, ang specimen natin is yung tissue, endoscopic tissue sample. So, pwede mo siyang i-culture sa urea agar, and then after 2 hours, tignan mo kapag naging color pink. Okay? Ibig sabihin nun, it is rapid urease positive. It can be Helicobacter pylori. Okay? So, let's say nag-culture ka nga. Anong ginamit mong culture medium? Ang gamit mo is the Wilkins Sjögren agar. Kasi ito yung pinaka-best culture medium to isolate Helicobacter pylori. Besides the Wilkins Sjögren agar, pwede kang gumamit ng iba pang culture medium tulad ng Brucella agar, BHI agar, CNA agar with Vitox. Ito yung mga alternative part. However, class, ang culture talaga hindi siya recommended. Bakit class? Kasi nga, napakatagal ng incubation. Okay? So, again, Helicobacter pylori may require 4 to 7 days bago ba siya tumubo. And sometimes, bago ka mag-report ng negative, you have to extend it for 10 days ba bago ka mag-report ng negative. So, people cannot wait that long. That's why culture ng Helicobacter pylori is not done routinely in the lab. Sa laboratory talaga, it's either mag-stool antigen test ka. Kapag nag-positive ka sa stool antigen test, pwede kang ipa-confirm using the urea breath test. Okay, yun ang ginagawang testing class sa lab. Okay? Yung mga culture na yan, hindi yan priority kasi nga napakatagal. At pangalawa pa, the incubation condition is very difficult to achieve. It only needs 4% ng oxygen. Microaerobic condition, di ba? 4% oxygen na ang kailangan niya. So, mahirap to ma-achieve kung wala kang proper equipment sa hospital, especially here in the Philippines. Okay? So, yun lang class. Yun lang naman pala yung topic natin for today. So, that is the gastroenteritis pathogens.